I'm supposed to come in and restore order because that's my position. The fact that it's ignored by the clowns because they're all in the same frat, comedically, like, that's all well and good. I don't care nothing.
Kevin Hart hugged Katt Williams on live television and said the beef was over. Then he turned around, looked into the camera, and admitted it was some of the best acting he had ever done, and that he did not mean a word of it. That is a wild thing to say out loud, especially on Netflix, in front of millions of people. And in that same stretch of time, Katt Williams' personal security guard gets indicted for a serious criminal offense. Now that same guard is threatening to sue Katt, claiming a decade of abuse, with a demand letter that expires at the end of this month. 3 major things, all inside 7 days. A public peace offering that Hart later said was fake. A criminal charge connected to a house Katt's company allegedly leased, and a possible lawsuit that could put Katt under oath about what was happening behind the scenes. Put all of that together, and this whole situation gets hard to ignore.
That's why, you know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen.
Let me slow this down because the timing is what makes it so strange. May 10th, Kia Forum in Los Angeles. Netflix roast of Kevin Hart. Katt Williams comes out as a surprise guest. He uses his set to go straight at Hart. Diddy parties? Hollywood puppet accusations? All of it. It was harsh. Then, Hart stands up and offers what looks like an olive branch. He says, "I want to be a brother. I want to be a friend. Can we move on?" They hug. The crowd loses it. For a second, it looks like a years-long feud just ended on stage. But later that same night, Hart gets back on the mic and says, and I'm quoting, "Go back and look at that moment where I shook Katt's hand. Some of the best acting that I've ever seen. I did not mean one word of what I said." Then he yells, "Katt Williams." So now you are left with the obvious problem. Was the hug the real part, or was Hart telling the truth afterward? And if he wanted everyone to know the moment was fake, he made sure nobody missed it. This is where the story takes a much darker turn. While that roast was happening, Katt Williams, Katt's longtime security guard, was dealing with a criminal indictment. A grand jury charged him with a criminal offense for the shooting of comedian Reggie Carroll in August 2025 in South Haven, Mississippi. $500,000 bond, ankle monitor. And then Trinell's attorney, Albert Hughes, goes public and says Trinell plans to sue Katt Williams over 10 years of alleged hostile work environment, physical violence, and inappropriate behavior. A demand letter had already been sent. Katt has until the end of the month to respond, or the lawsuit moves forward. So while Hart is on stage performing what he later described as a fake reconciliation, the man who worked beside Katt for a decade is preparing to take him to court and put private details on the record.
Reggie was a wild boy. Katt is a wild boy. Something happened where Reggie didn't make it home. He got ambushed, y'all. Oh, I know that.
To understand why that matters, you have to go back to January 2024. Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay and did something people at his level almost never do. He named names. Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Diddy, Tyler Perry, Ludacris. He said the entertainment industry is built on silence. He said careers are made and destroyed by the same tight circle of people. He called Kevin Hart an industry plant and claimed Hart never had a sold-out show before the deals showed up. That interview exploded everywhere, and right after it did, the response from the industry kicked in fast. Old arrests started getting pushed around again. Headlines painted him as bitter, unstable, unhinged. Comedians who had stayed quiet for years suddenly came out defending themselves. And then Katt Williams went quiet. No victory lap, no round of follow-up interviews, nothing. Chris Rock's name matters here for a reason. Rock has been talking for years about the way Hollywood rewards people who play along and punishes people who expose too much. He has talked about how the word crazy gets attached to people right when the things they're saying start to become uncomfortable. Dave walked away from $50 million and got labeled crazy. Rock lived through the slap and saw how carefully the industry handled the aftermath. Now look at Katt Williams through that lens. Maybe he is staying quiet because he is being strategic and waiting for the right opening. Or maybe this is the silence of someone who has already taken a hit behind the scenes that the public has not seen yet. And then there is the harder question. If his own guard is accusing him of running an abusive operation for 10 years, was Katt exposing the machine? Or was he also running a smaller version of it in his own world? That question would be easier to leave alone if Trinell Williams were not putting specific claims on the record. Trinell says he was on call 24/7 with no days off for 10 years. He claims Katt created a hostile work environment involving physical violence, verbal harassment, and emotional distress so severe that he is now a social pariah whose own family does not want to deal with him. To be clear, those are allegations. They are not proven facts, but they are coming from someone who lived inside Katt's world, stayed in his guest house, and was there when the shooting happened. This is not some random person appearing out of nowhere with a story. This is someone who says he was close to Katt Williams' daily operation for a decade.
For everything I'm telling you, that's why I can say I'm so freely.
I need another one. You here, get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Come on.
Now let's talk about the shooting itself. Reggie Carroll was a 52-year-old comedian and a veteran performer touring with Katt on the Heaven on Earth tour. According to Trinell, Carroll was kicked out of Katt's mansion. Trinell says Katt then sent Carroll to live with him at a house in South Haven. And according to Trinell, that house was leased by a company owned by Katt Williams. That puts the property where an incident occurred directly inside Katt's business orbit. Trinell claims Carroll pulled guns on him multiple times over a 3-month period. He says he ran from his own home nearly a dozen times. He showed WREG reporters videos he says he recorded of Carroll displaying a firearm. Trinell also claims Carroll was a convicted felon and should not have had a weapon. Then, one night in August, Trinell says Carroll threatened him again and he shot him in self-defense with a 12-gauge shotgun. A grand jury did not accept the self-defense argument at that stage. Trinell was indicted for a serious criminal offense. He is currently out on bond with an ankle monitor, waiting for a trial date. His attorney says trial may be the only way to get the toxicology report and force all the evidence into the open. But Katt Williams could still have a separate legal problem. The lawsuit Trinell is threatening is about 10 years of alleged abuse in the workplace, and that demand letter gives Katt a specific time frame, the end of the month. If Trinell files, discovery could force Katt to produce emails, documents, and testimony about how he treated employees. That is a very different kind of fight than a podcast beef. Katt Williams could end up sitting in a deposition room under oath, answering questions about whether he sent a violent man to live with his security guard.
If there's brilliance in that, then I'm appreciative to that, and I'm trying to be a brilliant person, not a brilliant comedian.
And while all of this is unfolding, the kind of machine Chris Rock has talked about is moving in plain view. Netflix removed Diddy jokes from the archived version of The Roast after the live broadcast. Comedy writer Madison Sinclair says 18 of her best jokes were cut. So the version people saw live is not the exact version that remains online. Why did that happen? Diddy was convicted in 2025 on 2 counts of transportation to engage in commercial work and received a 50-month sentence. Netflix may have been thinking about legal risk, but the result still matters. The public saw one version in real time, and a cleaner, safer version is what gets preserved afterward. That is how the record gets softened, right in front of the audience. Now pay attention to what Katt Williams does next. In that same week as The Roast, he reposted an AI video on his Instagram story showing Diddy as a character from a famous movie about a criminal gang, with a caption about snitching. So Katt is not completely disappearing. He is not off the grid. He is watching, posting, reacting, making jokes. What he is not doing is speaking directly. No interview, no statement about the indictment, no response to the lawsuit threat. His silence is not the same thing as being gone. It looks more like a choice. And the longer he says nothing, the stronger both possibilities get. Maybe he is waiting for the right moment to hit back. Or maybe he knows that saying the wrong thing could make the whole situation worse.
September, he also told Lights Camera Vegas host Rachel Smith that he wants to build a film studio and make Las Vegas, quote, Hollywood 2.0.
So this is where things stand. The reconciliation hug was later described by Hart as a performance. The security guard has been indicted for a serious crime. That same guard says Katt Williams ran an abusive operation for a decade. The house where a person passed away is allegedly tied to a company Williams owns. Netflix edited jokes out of the archived roast after the show had already aired live. And the man who spent last year calling out Hollywood's suppression system has not publicly addressed any of it. You do not need a conspiracy board to see why people are watching this closely. These are court filings, public quotes, reported allegations, and documented events all landing in the same 7-day window. Something is either unraveling, or it is being handled very carefully. And the next moves matter, because 3 clocks are running at the same time. The end-of-month target, the legal proceedings still waiting, and Diddy sitting in a cell with nothing left to lose. One of those stories is going to move first. You want to know where the story went after that fake hug? It went straight to the editing room. Because the same night Kevin Hart bragged about his best acting, Netflix started cutting jokes out of the roast archive. And not just 1 or 2 jokes that got too close to the line. According to comedy writer Madison Sinclair, who spoke to Variety, 18 jokes were left on the cutting room floor, including some of her best material. A lot of those jokes had the same target, Diddy. The live audience heard them, the people watching live heard them, but the version that stays online is cleaner, safer, and edited. Netflix has not explained why. Maybe they do not feel like they have to. But you do not pull 18 jokes out of a major comedy special after the fact unless somebody somewhere got nervous fast. So why would Netflix be nervous? Because Diddy is not just a name comedians can throw around casually anymore. He was convicted in 2025 on 2 counts of transportation to engage in commercial work. 50 months. That is in the court record. And when a live comedy special starts firing jokes at a convicted felon who may still have legal issues around him, the platform's lawyers are going to do what platform lawyers do. They clean up the version that remains. The problem is, once that happens, the live broadcast and the archive are no longer the same show. One version is what people actually saw that night. The other is the version the platform decided should stay online afterward. That space between what happened live and what gets preserved